Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the lady for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I actually find very little in Mr. Dreyer's comments I disagree with. I agree with almost everything he has said, and I commend him for that very thoughtful speech. But that was the best part. I don't expect that to happen much more today. Mr. Speaker, before I comment on the specifics, I'd also like to thank the members of the task force, especially Mr. Smith, who is the ranking member for Republicans. It was a great opportunity to become a friend of another member. We did disagree in the end, but I found it to be a very thoughtful, fruitful, and enjoyable, well, somewhat enjoyable experience. I also want to thank other members of the committee, Mr. Price, Mr. Scott, Ms. McCullum, Mr. Meehan before he left, Mr. Hobson, Mr. Camp, and Mr. Tiat. I thought we had some great meetings, and it was a pleasure to me to engage in this endeavor. I also want to thank the members of the freshman class of 2006. They're the ones who really kept the pressure on us to try to fix our ethics rules. They came here on the backs of public discontent with our actions, and they have kept our feet to the fire, and I thank them for that. I also want to thank the many people that helped us walk through this. There are many people whom I will list in my extension remarks at a later time because there are too many of them. I do want to point out one staff member in particular, my own Christina Sefoulias, who worked countless hours trying to get through this, and I want to thank her publicly for that. On the specifics, again, I think I agree with most everything Mr. Dreyer said. This is really all about public trust. But the point that seems to be missed is the public does not trust us on ethics issues at this point. Maybe that's fair, maybe that's unfair, maybe it's based on reality, maybe it's based on perception, but it's a fact. They do not trust us. They don't trust us for many different reasons. As I see it, I can point to two issues in particular. The perception of the good old boy network. Now, maybe that's not fair, but it's certainly what our constituents think. They think that we're all here protecting each other. They think that we operate behind closed doors and smoke-filled rooms to make sure that no bad things get said about our colleagues. And I don't think that's true, but that's certainly the perception. And when people don't have trust in the system, they don't have trust in us, and I think that's an important thing to address. The other part of it, as was already pointed out, is transparency or the lack thereof. That encourages people to think that the good old boy network is all that we rely on. As far as partisanship, I totally agree. Any system that results in partisanship on ethics matters is unsuccessful. But partisanship has 2 points. Yes, there is partisanship to initiate witch hunts, and that is a concern. I believe this proposal addresses that by requiring joint appointments and by requiring one Democratic appointment and one Republican appointment to initiate any review. That gets around, it debates, it totally undermines any legitimate concerns about partisanship witch hunts. But the other side of it that nobody here wants to talk about is the potential for partisan stonewalling, which we have suffered in this House in the past, where one party simply says, you cannot look at our member, period. End of discussion. And if you do, we will remove members from the Ethics Committee who look at that member, which has happened in this House, and everybody knows it. And to think that partisanship is only one-sided, witch hunts, is a mistake. Partisanship is also stonewalling. It's also protecting our fellow colleagues who may or may not have done something wrong simply because they come from the same party as we do. That's just as wrong as partisan witch hunts, and I believe this proposal addresses that as well. I also want to comment on the 2 proposals that were dropped on us lately. One of them had been in one form or another for a while, but both of them in their final form were dropped on it lately. I will simply tell you that, yes, we did look at them, and I have an opinion here which I will submit for the record from the Congressional Research Service and one from the House Counsel that state by bringing non-members into a member-oriented item to have official votes on matters in this House is likely to be unconstitutional. Now, I know that some people don't want to hear it, and certainly it won't be definitive until the Supreme Court were ever to act on it.
Fire.
The gentleman 2 additional minutes.
I thank the gentlelady.
Really 2 minutes.
But there is always constitutional questions on anything we do. Every time we hear the issue, I, for one, I'm a lawyer, I try to figure out how unconstitutional might it be. And if the answer is it's more likely to be unconstitutional than not, I won't do it. If the answer is I think it's constitutional, you try it. If it gets knocked out in court later on, so be it. So these 2 proposals, according to 2 independent entities that we could get direct answers from quickly, believe that it's unconstitutional. As far as the rule goes, I understand fully well. I've had a year's worth of debate, and I would have welcomed anybody to come to any of our meetings and participated at any time they wanted to have hours and hours of discussion. At the same time, this is a pretty simple proposal. I know some people don't like the concept of an independent entity having something to do with our ethics process. I respect that opinion. I disagree with it, but I respect it. It's a fair concern. At the same time, that's what this is. An up or down vote on that, I think, is a fair thing for the American people to let them know how we feel about this concept. And with that, I believe I have probably no more time, and whatever I do have, I yield back to the gentlelady.